show what is the role and prospects of CPUs in the area of deep learning. So, as we all know, we have to choose a right computing system to reach the full potential of deep learning. Although accelerators may provide higher throughput or performance than CPUs, but on other metrics, there are other metrics of interest, right? We are all thinking about performance, but what about other metrics? So that's all you have to also keep in mind. Another point is that CPUs are already present in any system, right? For example, if you have any accelerator like suppose Goya or maybe a GPU or FPGA, they always need a host, right? So data will probably first pass through the CPU to the accelerator, then back to the CPU. So why let the GPU idle? Even you may not exclusively use GPU, but at least while the accelerator is running, let us do something on CPU also. CPUs are also now improving day by day, right? It's not that only accelerators improving, CPUs are also improving. So they are also important. So CPUs are inevitably present in the system, and hardware software stack of CPUs is well established. Like see, for example, like sometimes you see that accelerator company has been purchased by someone else, right? Whereas CPUs are long established, right? Even in the first course we teach, we start with CPU. So CPU is the first thing that most people anyway know, and the hardware software stack is well established. So that's why accelerators is not a panacea, right? It's not a all-round solution. For certain scenarios, okay, accelerators may be good, but in other scenarios, CPUs may also be reasonably good. Okay, and CPU has its own, 40 areas, right? It's area of strength. Some people are good in one area, some people are good in another area. So accelerators are good on the area, on the metric of throughput, whereas CPUs are good on its own metrics. So let us see them. So first thing we show is that GPUs have limited memory, and that's the presentation we just now discussed. Okay? And of course, nowadays, GPUs are evolving very, very fast. I heard of a GPU which is 80 gigabytes of memory. So maybe this limitation may not be true, but definitely other accelerators may be there who have limited memory. So when it is not just about compute, when it is also about memory, right? Then you have to think that GPU memory limitation is a big problem. So now 3D convolution and even 2D convolution with large batch size, they need a massive amount of memory. Okay, we saw this how, especially when you increase the batch size, your memory requirement increases even for VGG or any network. And definitely there are 3D convolution networks. For example, if you want to process the video data, right? Till now, we're already, CNNs are mostly used for image processing. But when you think about video processing, when you not just have to see who is this person, but what he's doing, what is the action he's taking? Is he doing some violent action? So for that, you need 3D convolution neural networks. So here is an example how memory requirement increases. A 2D CNN for classification between 101 classes has only 5 million parameters. But when you extend it to 3D CNN, it has 33 million parameters. Accelerators usually have limited memory capacity. So now CPU managed hosts in cloud and data center have much larger memory capacities. Okay, so I would not say CPUs have infinite memory capacity, but point is usually they are much larger memory. CPUs have much larger memory. Next thing so here we are, in this course till now we have only discussed about mostly CNNs, right? Some of the problems which come up when we execute CNNs, how to optimize them. But there are other important networks also. For example, we have mentioned BERT, but we have not discussed its characteristic. But when you go to natural language processing, I'm sure you may have some course natural language processing. So there you will see other networks like recurrent neural network. An example of RNN is LSTM. So accelerators gain their strength whenever the workload is massive parallelism. Okay, when we discussed GPU, we made this point that GPUs, although use multi-threading, but not just multi-threading, they need massive multi-threading. That means GPU will give you good performance only when you can parallelize the workload immensely. Okay, but many deep learning workloads do not have high parallelism, such as LSTM. Okay, and here in this parallelization of RNN is challenging because there is dependency between the steps and the batch size here is not very high. See, when you have high batch size, then if your accelerator has a lot of resources, you can use those resources. But if your batch size is very, very low, then your accelerator has a lot of resources, but you can't use those resources. For example, for TPU version 1, we had batch size between 8 to 200. That means to fully utilize the powers of TPU, you need high batch size. But what if you're doing inference with a batch size of 1? Then, although your TPU can provide a lot of resources, you're not able to use it. You're not able to use it because your computation requirement itself is not there, right? It's just like you have very good industry or factory capability, but all you need to churn out is probably 100 close every day. If you were to maybe churn out millions of close every day, then your factory is fully utilized. But if demands is not there or if there is not sufficient, workload, then your resources are lying idle. And here there is a lot of dependency, so you can't parallelize it. Because as you know, like when you do natural language processing, to understand the full sentence, you can't see the words in isolation. You have to see the full word, the full sentence, isn't it? So the meaning of a single word may have different synonyms, each of them with a slightly different shades of meaning, or maybe very, very different meaning. So here, that's why you can see that there are some workloads don't have parallelism. Then what is the point of having a parallel accelerator like GPU? You will not gain much. Next thing is that there are DNNs which have irregular memory accesses. For example, InceptionNet has filter shapes of 1 cross 1, 3 cross 3, 1 cross 3, 3 cross 1. So now they lead to irregular memory accesses. That means it is not like a very disciplined or same kind of memory accesses. Every filter is making different types of memory accesses. And here, here you just have two-fold parallelism. Here you have four-fold. Here you have maybe a four-fold. So that means in different layers, you have different degree of parallelism. Okay. So when you have such irregularities, then GPUs don't, or maybe those parallel accelerators, they don't work well. Because they rely, for example, on SIMD. Right? Now, SIMD means you must have single instruction which works on a lot of data. But if sufficient data is not available, then it will be unutilized. You may have a vector length of 512, but you are able to do only 20 computations. Then 492 lanes are idle. So this irregular memory accesses are not good for. And another thing is that those GPUs kind of accelerators, they don't have latency handy mechanism like caches, right? They don't have very large caches. They only rely on parallelism. So if you don't have parallelism, then those accelerators will give you very poor performance, especially for irregular workloads. This is called irregular because here some of them are different from each other. It's not very regular. Now, sparse DNNs. So I have already discussed one example when we discussed scalpel technique. So these sparse DNNs are highly inefficient on massively parallel processors because so these sparse DNNs are inefficient on massively parallel processors. Why? Because sparse data structures have poor spatial locality, which leads to poor bandwidth efficiency. Like for example, here, see, suppose you were to run this kind of network, then in a single access, probably you can fetch the whole of row. But here, you are fetching the whole row, but this is unused, this is unused, this is unused. So it's a waste, right? Because spatial locality is very, very poor. So just for review, spatial locality means, just as I gave the example of a book, if you are right now reading chapter number 5 of a book, most likely you will read chapter number 4 or chapter number 6 very soon. That means once one data item has been accessed, nearby data has very high probability of getting accessed. So here you need 3 and 9, but you don't need this one because this is anyway 0. Okay, so that's why here spatial locality is very poor, whereas here spatial locality is high. So your why did to poor bandwidth efficiency? Because you are issuing access to 6. but effectively you are getting only 3. So your bandwidth is getting wasted. Okay, and here you can't use vectorization because if you're doing vectorization, as I said, in SIMD, you want to probably fetch all the 6. And here, out of the 6, only 1 has to execute. Right? Out of the 6, only 1 has to execute. So vectorization is ineffective. Whereas CPUs are anyway not having massive parallelism. They have much smaller parallelism. And they have many memory management techniques. So they can take care of such kind of irregularities, right? See, CPUs are all about general purpose compute. That means they can take care of wide variety of workloads. Whereas GPU means it's here, if you're using GPU, the assumption is that your workload is highly parallel. So on those workloads, GPUs will give you good performance. But on other workloads, it will not give good performance. Okay. Now, here is another extreme. So in mobile and embedded system, that means low power budget systems, CPU is the most widely used computing system because it is highly available, portable, and it has good software support. You remember the presentation where we discussed mobile domain idea? Can you tell me which presentation it was? Ashish? We discussed deep learning on mobile. Which presentation it was? Forgot. Sagar? Vikas? Subham? Okay, anyone?
So
yes.
Machine learning on edge smartphone.
Okay, yeah, that was on Facebook's app, right? That was the presentation.
Yes, sir.
So there we discussed how, although GPUs can provide you higher speed up, I mean a good speed up, but they are just not available, or they have some software issues. The OpenC library is not supported, OpenGL library is not supported, and so on. And although like server GPUs are different, right? Server GPUs are designed by NVIDIA, but mobile CPUs are designed by companies like ARM, Qualcomm. They are not as powerful. I mean, mobile GPUs. Mobile GPUs are not as powerful as the high-end GPUs, and the ratio between the performance of GPU CPU, that is also much smaller. So, and most, as I said, software issues are there. Most DL frameworks do not support all the operations on mobile GPU or DSP. So even though you may purchase DSP or GPU, but your application can't use them because support is not there. So, and then whichever computations are not supported on GPU, DSP, they will be executed on CPU. So you will have data transfer overheads, right? It will have data transfer overhead because you have to do one layer on CPU, next layer on GPU, then maybe one more layer on CPU. So back and forth, you have to transfer the data. So even though GPU, when you run everything only on GPU, you could get good performance, but you are not able to run everything on GPU. And DSP also has low precision. We already discussed. So why DSP has low precision? Anybody remembers? What is the issue with DSP? Naveen? Suman? What is the big problem with when we discuss DSP? Anybody remembers what was the problem with DSP? You can open the slide if you want, but tell me what is the big problem with DSP? Shrikant? Anupam? What is the limitation of DSP? We discussed hexagon DSP.
Sir, mainly they use fixed point only, sir, and no floating point in them. Sir.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, DSP does not have support for floating point. That's why it leads to poor accuracy. Very good. Okay. Now, next thing is in data center scenarios. So now you see, you know, right, this web services that we see, they are supported by some data center, I mean, whether it is EduTech or maybe search engines. So all of them are supported by some data centers. Now they see a huge fluctuation in the computing demand over time. For example, suppose if there is some like some important event, probably some leader of a country is visiting at that place. So suddenly that event will get a lot of traction. A lot of people will visit that website for some help, like for some, you know, some accident or some election, right? So suddenly there will be a lot of demand, whereas at other time it will be very poor demand. So now using CPUs help meet this variability due to their efficiency for both deep learning and non-deep learning tasks. So for example, like, see, you may have accelerator to do most of your work, but sometimes suddenly a lot of extra work comes. Then what to do? Then use CPU also. Right? So for example, in Facebook data centers, what they do, they have CPUs and GPUs both. So usually probably they may use a GPU to do training, but sometimes there's a lot of training overhead. Then should we let CPU idle? No, we should use CPUs also. And CPUs can provide low latency inference. So this allows cloud service providers to amortize their CPU investments on a broad range of tasks. So the whole point is, a company may not just run deep learning tasks, right? They will always have to run multiple tasks. Okay. So for example, even when I discuss Brainwave, we discussed that Brainwave FPGA. Some of the FPGA may be using like maybe running some search, like a Bing search engine. Some of them may run some other financial workload or some other workload. So it's not that if you design the workload, I mean a data center, you can't say, okay, I will only run deep learning. There may be other workloads also coming up. So if you can also serve those workloads, you get more financial, you know, efficiency, right? You get more better return on investment. Okay, this is a somewhat, you know, isolated point in extreme environments. So sometimes you have to use some computing system for harsh environments like space or defense. So here you need high fault tolerance in security certifications. I hope you agree, right? Because when you go to space, there are a lot of, you know, rays. So normal systems can go bad. The frequency of those harmful rays is highly increased. So there you can't use a system which has not passed the security certifications. Okay. For example, we discussed, right? There the point was opposite. In autonomous driving, we need fixed latency. We need some predictability. If it is more than that, it is unacceptable. So there, of course, we found out that CPU was not predictable, so CPU was not good. But the point I'm trying to say is that some fields are highly crucial. You can't avoid this problem. You have to meet the security certifications. Now, radiation hardening of accelerators has not been researched. That's why CPUs are the only choice for such a. So, what is radiation hardening? And anybody has studied about radiation hardening? Anubha or Anubha? Yeah. Yes, Gaurav.
Sir, basically, this is the technology which is used in the mobile, sir, to reduce the radiation part, sir. I've seen this in the one of the industry of Tata in Bangalore, sir.
Okay. Okay. So what happens, like radiation hardening simply means that, you know, from sky always radiations can keep on coming. So you have to use a circuit which is immune to those radiations. That's right. That is radiation hardening. Okay. So now see, accelerator, when a company designs accelerator, the first thing they want to show is performance. They don't worry about other metrics, right? They will not worry about reliability, security, and so on. Because first thing they have to first criteria they have to pass is whether you provide better performance than CPU or GPU. After that, we'll worry about reliability, you know, software stack, and so on. So most of the companies are in a stage where they have only demonstrated, most of the accelerator companies, they've only demonstrated the the performance aspect. They have not illustrated the other aspect. That's why they have poor poor reliability or security. Okay.